All right, we got another one today, and it's a 1v2, another Naruto one. This one's interesting. I know people, take like what people say in the series into consideration, but then sometimes it's not always like that. I'll say that about this fight, because this fight is Jiraiya versus Itachi and Kisame. During part one of Naruto. When before they went to go look for Tsunade, right? So they already got in the fight, but like before like shit could get like really serious, you know, they opted to leave instead. Um, and let me explain this. I'll explain it afterwards. All right. So we got Jiraiya versus Itachi and Kisame. When we look at strength, the strongest one out of the three, it's actually Jiraiya. Physical strength wise, he's actually strong as fuck, right? Lifting power over Itachi and Kisame. And remember, definitely at this time, Itachi wasn't using his Mangekyu's full abilities. He wasn't trying to. Now he still uses them. He still uses two of his abilities, right? That third one don't come out, and you know which one I'm talking about. Um, Not coming out during this fight. And Kisame never showed the full extent of his jutsus, but he's still there, right? Um, but out of all three of them, he's the strongest one, like physical strength, striking power, and lifting power wise. He has them beat. Now, when it comes to speed, I actually give it to those two in the Akatsuki. You know, they were quick. They were like, man, let's get the fuck out of here. I don't want to. Like in canon in the series, they were like, we don't. Let's just go. I know that they're quick. They're quick enough to like dodge his attacks. They can perceive his attacks. All right. And like I'm not saying Jiraiya is slow, but out of them and him, I have to give it to them. When it comes to durability, I'll give it to Jiraiya. Jiraiya's a tough old man. He's not a weak one. And I'm not saying that they can't damage Jiraiya. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying when I'm looking at these two characters, Itachi and Kisame, they can be damaged. And actually, if you use one of your like named attacks, you could actually like cause them to bleed and shit. Jiraiya, you could probably get him too, but he's also see this guy wears um he wears he wears chainmail under all his shit. Remember? That's how he survived some of the most dangerous attacks in his life, right? Um, well, before he got killed by other people, but you I give it to Jiraiya, and then when it comes to endurance, I'm gonna give it to Jiraiya slightly. I give a slight edge to Jiraiya, slight edge to Jiraiya. But if you wanted to give it to Tachi and Kisame, hey man, I'm not hating you for it. I'm not calling you a fool or anything. At least for that. And then when it comes to intelligence, I'm giving it to the group of two. Ryan's not a fool, right? I wouldn't say he's like foolish, but I also think that those two's heads, I wouldn't sleep on the intelligence of Itachi, right? Itachi fans, and then Kisame, he's no slouch either, man. Um, he's smart enough to put two and two together. I wouldn't say he's an idiot. Um, they can manage, but Ryan definitely has experience over those guys. I definitely give the experience to Jiraiya. Close skills, I'll give it to Jiraiya. Range skills, Itachi and Kisame. You know, um, Jiraiya has some range skills of his own, and he has a versatile toolkit. But I'll say that their range skills are probably more. They're more. Anywho, um, I got Itachi, Kisame. They got the range skills, recovery. I got them too. And I ain't like Raya, you know, or, well, actually, Kisame does have means to do that. Now, will he be doing that in this fight? Who knows? But it is in his toolkit to use chakra in that kind of manner. Because he's known as a tailless tail beast. Now, when it comes to hacks, I'll give it to Jiraiya, and this is why I'll give it to Jiraiya. He understands that Itachi don't use his third Mangekyo Sharingan ability. And then um, he also, um, damn, I'm sorry, y'all. There's some bullshit going on over here. Get these beggars out of here. There were, he has so much shit in his toolkit. He has ninjutsu. He has frogs against them. Tachi has more powerful ones. So if you wanted to give it to Tachi, you could. But even then, Jiraiya knows how to seal shit away in scrolls. I'll say because of his versatility, he can overcome some of those things, right? And the only thing you really have to worry about is that Tsukuyomi. Um, and then the environment goes to, you could give it to Jiraiya or Itachi and Kisame because both groups travel to different places all the time. Jiraiya's always out of the village traveling places, and then they're always traveling places to, um, you know, that. Um, but I'll give it to them, and I'll give it to them because their attacks when they get going, they could really fuck that place up. Like the hotel that they're staying at, they could fuck that place up. Because they ain't running away during this fight. And let me explain something before I tell you the results. They left in canon in the anime, right? Because they didn't want to get injured. They didn't want to get any kind of injuries fighting against Jiraiya. You know, they might fuck around and one of them may die. They didn't need to lose a man or have go back to the hideout and be all fucked up, right? They didn't need all that. They weren't looking for that. But in this scenario, I'm gonna make it happen. And guess what? When they stay and they don't run off, they actually win. Now it ain't easy though. They win high difficulty against Jiraiya. They have enough, moves and shit to actually um to actually, beat this guy. Jiraiya has, ways to seal, that. But then, Tsukuyomi is a win kind. And I also know that the amount of uh, black flames that he can generate, nah, man, I think Jiraiya is gonna be taking the loss here. And now I think also Jiraiya might even kill Kisame, maybe. Um, but also what happened in the series, Kisame got saved by Itachi via the Amaterasu. So Manga Sharingan, just saying. High difficulty, those two beat Jiraiya. Let me know what you think in the comments and be cool on the corner.